Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, depending on where you join us from. I'm Shirley Lu, Managing Director of Asia for PROVAC International. Welcome to join our webinar, Building a Sustainable Food System Through Innovation. To start today's webinar, let me introduce myself a little bit. Before PROVAC, I was also from the food industry working on food innovation in different sectors of food. Innovation is always my favorite and passionate topic. Today, I'd like to introduce PROVAC first. PROVAC is an international food awareness organization focusing on plant-based and also cultured innovations. Our mission is to replace conventional animal products consumption by 50% by the year 2040. PROVAC has been accredited by UNEP. It has also received the UN's Momentum for Change Award. So why plant-based? Our choice of food actually has multiple impact. It could be a solution to many of the world's most urgent problems, such as health, environment, food security. Let me give you some examples on health. Benefits of a plant-based or plant-rich diets. First, it's a healthy fat, no cholesterol. It also provides easily digestible protein. It gives a sense of satiation, so it supports weight management. It also provides lots of vitamins and also minerals. On environment, animal-based product actually account for a total of 16% greenhouse gas emission. Our food systems contribute to about a third of the greenhouse gas emission, and animal agriculture accounts for 50% of it, while it contributes 1/3 of our calories. Animal agriculture also uses 83% of the farmland, and it accounts for 20% of total freshwater use. In some animal-based foods, it's far more resource-intensive than plant-based foods. Based on the research, the grains crops used to feed animals, if it used to feed people directly, it can feed to additional 4 billion people. On animal, over 50 million farm animals around the world now suffer in factory farms. The intense physical and mental stress experienced by factory farm animals also affects their immune systems and their natural development and makes them unwell. So with these reasons, PROVAC is focusing on accelerating plant-based innovation. We brought to the ASEAN countries the Students Innovation Challenge. This innovation challenge brings together 7 food organizations and over 20 universities across 10 countries. I'd like to encourage you to scan the QR code to find out the details on how to apply. Students win through the challenge has a chance to win the cash award, mentorship by senior managers from these partaking companies. Outstanding performers also have a chance to be selected as interns. Without further ado, let me introduce today's agenda. I'll give some brief highlights on the housekeeping rules. Then today we are very excited and very fortunate to hear from Dr. Zituni directly. Dr. Zituni is the Deputy Director of FAO. Following the dialogue with Dr. Zituni, we have some short presentations and then a group panel discussion. Housekeeping, we like to hear your questions. As I mentioned that today we have a very impressive panel. So seize the opportunities and hear from the speakers directly. You can submit your questions at any time during today's event. Our speakers today includes Dr. Zituni from FAO and Raphael, my colleague from Berlin. and Andrea from Nestle, A Street, How Food, Didier from Unilever, and Ona from CPF. So our speakers today from international organizations, from nonprofit, multinational, regional lead players, as well as a startup. A very impressive speaker list. Without further ado, I'd like to welcome Dr. Zituni, Deputy Director of FAO, to join us. Okay, welcome, Dr. Zituni. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you very much, Shirley, for the kind invitation. Very pleased to be with you.
Dr. Zituni, before FAO, he was the head of technology at UNEP. Dr. Zituni has also worked with the British government on senior positions for 15 years and worked for the French government during France's presidency of the EU. Maybe to begin with, you can introduce to our audience on FAO. I think we know it's a very influential organization, but not all of us would have the chance to hear from officials from FAO. So first, maybe you can help us understand what's FAO's scope. Yeah.
Yeah, well, thank you, Shirley, and thank you again for the invitation. Very, very pleased to be with you indeed and introduce FAO and its work. The Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, its remit is to eradicate hunger. So we have really a very big and exciting and challenging agenda. So we work with countries from all around the world and from all partners who are committed to making our food systems more resilient and more fit for purpose in feeding, the world population, particularly the growing population. So this is what we're about at FAO. Our mandate is to eradicate hunger. And as you can imagine, that's very challenging because hunger has been on the rise for the last few years because of various reasons, not only because of climate change, but also because of conflict and other socioeconomic situations around the world. So increasingly, we're working to fight that agenda, which is cross-cutting. It's linked to poverty, it's linked to socioeconomic challenges, it's linked to empowering women and also promoting the development in rural areas as well. So this is what we're about, and we increasingly, as I said, work with partners like you and others from the private sector, from the NGOs, from the youth community, governments and others, because food affects everyone, obviously. So we are very pleased to be on the leading side of this agenda, but we rely on partners really to make change in the world about hunger.
Thank you. I'd also like to introduce Raphael, my colleague from Berlin. Raphael specializes in international public policy and also public affairs. He's very experienced in working with the international organization and in policy research. The following dialogue will led by Raphael.
Thank you, Shirley, and thank you, Zituni, for being with us today. It's great to have you on the panel. I will try to keep my questions short so we can go through as many as possible in the next 10 minutes. Many processes like international climate and biodiversity negotiations that were supposed to happen last year in 2020 were postponed or cancelled in some cases, and postponed most of them to next year. And 2021 should see most of those processes as the climate negotiations, COP26 in Glasgow, resume. But I'm also thinking of this UN Special Food System Summit that we have at the end of the year. So, Zituni, on the topics of food and agriculture, what needs to happen from national governments, the private sector, to consumers? What needs to happen this year to make sure that we get back on track to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals and the Paris Agreement?
Well, thank you, Raphael. As you said, many of the activities from last year have been postponed to this year. So the answer to your question is there is a lot that needs to happen this year. We need to do more. basically in relation to tackling climate change and achieving sustainable development goals, we're behind. We're not doing enough. We're not meeting the goals of the Paris Agreement, and we're not meeting the SDGs, particularly SDG 2 on hunger, to achieve zero hunger. We're still not there. So we need to be more ambitious. We need to take more actions, everyone, not just the countries, but we're all have part to play in this. So what needs to happen is for us to do more, because unfortunately, when we put all our efforts together from around the world, from all the countries, particularly through the nationally determined contributions and what we're doing on adaptation and resilience, it's not enough. It's not taking us to achieving the Paris Agreement of keeping the global temperature below 1.5 degrees C and therefore avoiding the danger of climate change. And as far as the food agenda is concerned and agriculture is concerned, at the moment, our food systems, they are not really fit for purpose. They are failing us, basically. So we need to make them more efficient and more resilient. We need to produce food that actually feeds and nourishes people, and at the same time, food that is kind to the environment. And we also need to change our mindsets and our attitudes towards food, so that what we consume is good for our health and good for the health of the environment. And the reason I'm saying this, because we look at the current situation at the moment, agriculture occupies about 40% of the world's land, and it uses about 70% of the fresh water. And as you heard earlier, Shirley said it contributes to around 1/3 of greenhouse gas emissions that contribute to climate change. So we need to produce enough food to feed everyone while protecting the environment. So that's what we need to do, and we need to do it fast.
Thank you, Zituni. And indeed, I think the recent SOFI report, also was very alarming on the rise of hunger, which was going down for years and has been going up in the past years. So it seems that we need some urgent reform in our food system. To get back a little bit more to the topic of innovation, there seemed to be a scientific consensus on the international level on the disproportionately high role of industrial animal agriculture in causing a lot of the problems from deforestation, biodiversity loss, greenhouse gas emissions, and so on. But we have also seen more and more experts calling for a shift in diets, going for more plant-rich diets and less resource-intensive diets, especially in the global north. Zituni, what is your position on this, and how much potential does FAO see in plant-based innovations to move towards more plant-rich diets?
Well, we need to shift to healthy diets for sure, because if you look at the current situation, unfortunately, we have about 700 million people who go hungry, and we have around 2 billion people who don't have regular access to safe, nutritious, and sufficient food. Unfortunately, COVID-19 may add between 83 and 132 million people to the total number of undernourished people around the world already. So if we continue with this trend, if we don't reverse it, then we're not going to be able to achieve the Paris Agreement and the Sustainable Development Goals, particularly SDG 2, as I mentioned earlier, about achieving zero hunger. So innovation is critical. We have to innovate because when we consider the challenges, as I mentioned, in addition to growing population, we're expecting, as you know, around 9 billion by 2050 is to 2 billion extra people in the next 30 years or so. So we need to feed people in a way that nourishes people. That's why I said we need to shift to healthy diet. And innovation means not just innovation in terms of technology, but innovation in terms of the food that we need to produce. As you mentioned, the plant-based innovation is important. Plant-based innovation in terms of innovation for nourishment, but also plants that are resistant to climate change, plants that are resilient in the current situation, but also plants that are kind to the environment and don't lead to the loss of biodiversity. And innovation also means innovation in terms of financing, investing in nature and investing in solutions, nature-based solutions and other kind of solutions that can allow us to maintain the sustainability of the food systems and the environment, and at the same time innovation that can allow us, as I said, to produce enough food and nourishes people. Because what I said before in terms of hunger versus undernourishment, we need to reverse that. So innovation is absolutely critical, and that's the way forward. This is the future. We have to innovate to be able to address these challenges.
Thank you, Zituni. Today, as we have a focus, as you just mentioned, on plant-based innovation, which have, I think, witnessed, we have a lot of data, exponential growth in the past years, and it has established itself as more than a trend. It's like really a shift that we observe in a lot of countries, making their ways to the mainstream in consumers. So I would like to know, as we have a lot of actors from the private sector, how does FAO see the role of the industry, of the private sector, and of course the role of consumers in achieving more sustainable and resilient food systems?
Well, the role of private sector and industry is critical, because in the food industry, the private sector has absolutely critical role to play. And in fact, at FAO, we just produced a new strategy for engaging with the private sector, because we see the private sector role as key in this agenda, in transforming our food systems and achieving sustainable and resilient food systems. Why? Because the private sector, it has the know-how, it has the investment, it has the technology, it has the innovation that we need to transform these food systems. And the private sector is a key player throughout the food chain, all the stages, from the production to the distribution to the consumption. And beyond that, as you mentioned, the role of consumers is also important, because everyone needs to do their bit, because every action, small or big, counts. The transformation of food systems involves everyone, not just government or private sector, but we all rely on food. We all use food, so we all have part to play on this. So in terms of consumers, we need to show more responsibility and awareness of the impacts of our lifestyle on the environment, on our health as well. We have limited resources and we have only one planet. So we need to rethink our connection with food and the impact that our consumption habits has on the environment and on our health. As I mentioned earlier, around 2 billion people around the world are either overweight or obese, while on the other hand, we have about 700 million people who go hungry. And in the middle of that, as you know, we're still wasting too much food. So both private sector and consumers have a key role to play, and they're very much part of the transformation that we need of the food systems.
Thank you very much, Zituni. So yes, indeed, I think we got the point on the food system that has these two sides of not feeding everyone, and on the other side, making more and more people sick. So it is indeed an urgent need to reform and change this food system. As we're already at 12 minutes, I will give the floor to my colleague Shirley, who will continue, and I think we will have one more question for you after the panel. Thank you very much, Dr. Udeda. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Raphael.
Thank you very much for your very inspiring and also very insightful sharing. We'd like to hear more during the Q&A. Okay. That's next. We have a few small presentation. Bring up the slide. Okay. Next, we have presentations from Andrea from Nestle. Andrea is a nutritionist, So she's going to talk about plant-rich, plant-based nutrition. And also Astrid from How Food. How Food is plant-based chicken. It's a startup joint venture between Indonesia and also China. DDA from Unilever. DDA is in charge of the launch of Unilever's plant-based line across Asia Pacific. And Anna from CPF. So we're going to hear from not only multinational, but also leading regional food players and rising startup. Without further ado, let's welcome Andrea.
Lovely. So thank you very much for inviting us to participate in this challenge. So I am Andrea, and I am one of the nutritionists within Nestle Research and Development. And so we're just using this opportunity to talk to you around one of the innovation topics that we presented for ProVeg, and specifically it's focusing on the advocacy and how we, I guess, encourage the food systems from to promote a more plant-based diet. So just for those of you, I'm sure most of you know who Nestle is. It's a company that's been around for around 150 years, and it has brands under Milo, Maggi, Nescafe, which are, I guess, quite popular within this region. And as a company, Nestle is around good food, good life. So one of the key aspects of that is unlocking the power of food to enhance the quality of life for everyone, not just today, but also for future generations. And we see a key element of that is expanding and going down and growing the sort of plant-based innovation and the systems that support people having a plant-based diet. So as we've heard, there are a lot of good benefits from going more plant-based and adopting a more plant-based diet from a health and nutrition perspective. But also what we have looked at is that we need to do it in a way that also supports the planet. So plant-based diets don't always equal healthy diets, and healthy diets don't always equal planet-friendly diets. So we have been looking and using the FAO Sustainable Healthy Diets Framework as a way to assess how our innovations and also our policies help us to improve the nutrition, make sure that everyone has access and affordability, but also ensure that we are supporting a healthy planet in the future. So one of the ways we look at this is through the country's dietary guidelines. And dietary guidelines are important for us as measures of how healthy a diet or of a particular population is. And as you can see, right now, a lot of the dietary guidelines in the world do not support a sustainable, healthy, long-term diet for the environment, because there's a lot of recommendations around a lot of dairy and meat intake. So if we wanted to reframe and change these dietary guidelines, because ultimately these guidelines are what governments use to form their food policy, and then they do have an impact, they do slowly filter down and have an impact on everyone's day-to-day choices. So what we're really interested in doing is finding a way that we can help promote sustainable, healthy diets through dietary guidelines. And we've seen recent successes in both Denmark and also in Canada, where they have recently put in recommendations that not only support health, but the planet. That's either through reducing the recommended meat intake down per person, or looking at the carbon footprint and encouraging people to consume more plant-based foods. So what we're really looking for in this challenge is for you to come have a look at the dietary guidelines around Asian countries. I look at if there are any opportunities to encourage a more plant-based diet in these guidelines, and then think about how you might go about doing this. So what would be the advocacy strategy or the approach that you would take to encourage the different governments in the region to promote a a plant-based diet within their local market. I think that is all I have time for. So thank you, and I look forward to seeing what you come up with.
A Street, yes, welcome.
Thank you so much, Shirley. Hi, good evening, good afternoon, good morning. I'm Astrid. I'm founder and CEO of How Food. We are a food science and technology startup that makes alternative chicken protein. Our first innovation is a tasty and nutritious plant-based chicken chop that is well suited for frying, using peanut protein as our key ingredients. Plant-based meat indeed very popular nowadays. But how do we make plant-based meat actually? To make a plant-based meat with excellent quality, we need to study what is it the chicken meat looks like in molecular level, and then search for plant protein that consists of molecules able to mimic the chicken itself, located within the crop. Where is it, the protein that we needed located at? Isolate that plant protein molecules, put it all together, and only by then we can make a plant-based chicken. In How Food, we have our own proprietary extrusion technology and formulation in preparing plant-based chicken from peanut protein. And talking about peanut, it is actually a very key water efficient kind of nut. It uses less fertilizer compared to any other plant protein crops, and also it has a very low level of allergen in China and Asia. Chicken is actually the fastest growing type of meat within the last 50 years. 37% of world chicken market are all here in Asia. Last 2018 only, in Asia, we eat 263 billion kilograms of chicken. It costs our environment equals to 490 million of cars on the street. If only we change that to plant-based chicken, the cost to our environment will be much lower, only almost 32 million of cars on the street. Now we are encouraging you to move forward, because to move forward and join this food innovation challenge, so we can have a more sustainable, delicious chicken menu for today, tomorrow, and the future. And this is my contact. I'm more than happy to assist you for any other question. Thank you.
Hello. So hi, I'm here today to talk a bit more about plant-based and how, as Unilever, we are contributing to the food revolutions. No, someone said 2 years ago the future is about plant-based diet, and we are talking more and more plant-based diet. So within Unilever, we do have very clear sustainable living plans. What do we want to achieve? We want to grow, but decouple our growth from the environmental footprints and increasing the positive social impact. For that, we have 3 big goals. One, on improving the health and well-being of billion people, reducing the environmental impact by half, and enhancing the livelihoods for millions of people as well. To meet those goals, one of the pillars is about improving the nutrition. No, we cannot decide what people eat. However, as a company like us that work a lot on food, what we can do is to provide the access, democratize the access to food that tastes good, because food is all about taste as well, but that make also people feel good and also are force for good. So we are already transforming our portfolio with more and more plant-based options. And here I'm talking to you today about the plant-based approach that we have with our brand, The Vegetarian Butcher. So animal meat is still a key element of diet around the world. more than 70 million tons of meat are consumed. And we do know that the animal within the food in productions is a strong impact of carbon footprint around the world. We have a lot of solutions about when we talk about cars, and we do see more and more solutions about electrical cars, for example. But we need to realize that everything we eat also have an impact on our planet as well every day, also on health and also on animal. We do see that there is a way to replace animal meat when we reduce while we're reducing the intake. We already in Asia a lot of meat alternatives like tofu, legumes, vegetables, a lot of options. But there is more and more possibilities to continue to enjoy meat textures, tasty foods using meat mimickers or analogs. The majority of people are not moving away from meat, but they are reducing it. To reduce the barriers behind reducing the meat consumptions, this is why plant-based diet is growing around the world. But to fully unlock this opportunity is not about changing people that already remove animal meat from their diet. It's about helping reducing the bias of people that eat meat on an everyday basis. So this is how we're going to have an impact. Dr. Zituni mentioned we're over 7 billion people in the world, and we're growing by 2050 more than 9 billion people. And we're not meeting our goals as well. If we don't change the way we eat, where are we going? So this is a story of a brand chap who founded the brand a few years ago. He was a farmer, become a vegetarian butcher to really offer tasty food to meat lovers. Our mission is to become the biggest butcher in the world by making plant-based meat a new standard. We have a wide product range made as butchers. In Asia, we have already few products across different markets, and we're growing the portfolio. The ability, also the versatility of the portfolio on plant-based meat is unlimited. We can really create different type of dishes. Food is all about taste, and plant-based products really offer wide opportunities to create very creative and tasty dishes. No limit. It's just a change to impact our life. So the brief that we shared earlier, it's about developing a range of plant-based, ready-to-eat convenience foods using our existing brand, the Vegetarian Butcher range of products. Propose a new product format and then develop the launch plan. Together, we can really have an impact. I invite you to focus on a lot on this brief and provide ideas. The impact could be huge for Asia. The impact will be good for different people's life as well. And I will be happy also personally to support any student that want to be part of the challenge as well. So thank you very much for listening to us today. Thank you, Shirley.
Thank you, Didier. Next, let's welcome Anna from CP Food. Anna, you are muted, so you need to turn on your mic. We can't hear you. Can you? No, we cannot hear you. Yes. Can you say something? Yeah, we still cannot hear you. Okay. You want to double check your setting, or maybe we can come back to your presentation in a few minutes. Okay. Yeah. Okay, great. Yeah. So while Anna check her setting, then let's move on to Q&A first. We do have now some great questions coming in. Dr. Zituni has another important meeting that he's going to chair. So I would like to maybe raise the first question to him. Can we bring back all the speakers? Can we have all the speakers open their cameras? Okay, so Dr. Zituni, you mentioned that consumers need to make more responsible choice. And also you mentioned that businesses need to innovate. We need to innovate for a healthier food system. One of our audience asked that the transitioning of our diet patterns, the change of our diet pattern to plant forward, plant rich or plant based, is this disrupting or strengthen our food system in terms of farming, transportation, and technology?
Yeah, well, I mean, I would say that that's an important part of where we want to go in terms of ensuring sustainability. I mentioned the responsibility of consumers in terms of understanding what our choices lead to in terms of impact. So if shifting towards more plant-based consumption is much more sustainable in certain settings, so that's a good thing to do. Because if we look at the overall population around the world, we have a mixture of cultures, of habits, of socioeconomic aspects that actually allow people to have a certain dietary habits, a certain way of consuming food, because it's linked to culture, as I said, and affordability and many other factors. So when we talk about the sustainability and solutions, we don't mean that there is only one way that is going to work for everyone. And I think that's important to respect the cultures, to respect, the level of development of many countries and many communities, particularly, indigenous communities and communities in rural areas who have certain ways of living and consuming food. And in many areas, it's plant-based as well. So that has to be really considered as part of the sustainability where we want to be. So it's not disruptive in that way, but it's more towards making sure that people are aware of the benefits of having a certain diet to the health and to the environment where they live.
Thank you. If I may, now I have two more questions before you go. First one is, does the FAO have any specific policies or incentives for innovation of sustainable foods? And second is, many of our audience are food professionals and food students who are going to be food professionals in our industries. For those who aspire to work for international organizations like FAO, what's your advice?
Yes, well, we do have a policy on innovation. FAO is putting innovation really at the center of transforming our food systems, because we see it as critical for the reason that I mentioned earlier. my messages to people who are interested in working in an international agenda and helping with this transformation is to, first of all, understand our choices and the commitment we want to make and why. So I think having a good awareness of why do we want to have this transformation and understand the reasons for that, and look in the future and see where we're heading and where we should be in terms of ensuring resilience and efficiency and fitness for purpose of our food systems, then you can be an important agent of that change. And for young people in particular is to understand that power that young people have of being powerful agents of change, and the fact that can make a big difference. And the other point I would say is also make sure that we change our mindset and how we interact with the environment, how we consume our food and for what purpose. Because unfortunately, if you look around the world, we still have habits that lead to too much wastage of food. And that's the first thing we need to stop. So whatever profession you want to go to, either international organization or other, I think in terms of helping with the food transformation, we have to look at ourselves first, our habits, our way of living. And the first priority, I would say, is to stop wasting food. We waste the third of the food that is produced for human consumption, which leads to something like around 8% of greenhouse gas emissions. So again, it contributes to climate change, but it leads to the wastage of the energy and the nutrients and everything that went into producing food. So for me, it's make sure you understand the agenda, where we're going, and think about what you as an individual can bring to ensuring this change that we want to see.
Thank you so much for your sharing out of your very hectic schedule. It's really great to have you here today and sharing all your experience and advice to the students. We know that you have another important meeting you're going to chair. Yeah, we thank you. Thank you very much again. And we hope to see you again soon in our future event.
Well, thank you very much for the kind invitation to you and Raphael and to the panelists and everyone who's joining this webinar. I'm sure it's an exciting discussion. I wish you all the best, and I look forward to joining you at future events. So thank you again for the invitation.
Thank you. Okay.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Thank you. Bye. Yeah. Okay, so we have more questions from the audience. Audience asked about the transition to plant-rich diets or plant-based diets. Can the panelists share your insights on what's driving the transition in Asia and also around the globe? Yeah. Who would like to share first? Ona, do you want to test your microphone? Do you want to turn on your mic to see if it's working?
Yes.
Oh,
Can you
okay,
hear me
great.
now?
Yes, I
Okay.
can hear you now. Yeah, so maybe we
Okay.
give you the presentation.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Hello again, everyone. My name is Ananut from CPF Thailand. CPF is a leading company focused on agricultural and food products, such as chicken, pork, seafood, sausages, and ready-to-eat meal. Okay. We have a sustainability strategy in 3 pillars: food security, self-sufficient society, and balance to nature. Food innovation is one agenda of food security. We plan to launch healthier and more nutritious products every year, such as sodium reduction, cholesterol reduction, And we also have plant-based product. Actually, we have vegetarian product in Asian style for many years. We launch it every October in vegetarian seasonal, like Thai, Chinese, traditional. And now we have innovation product in the trendy style. The brand is Meat Zero. We plan to launch it in all of them in May this year. We have plant-based crispy pork, sausage, bologna, burger, minced pork, and nugget product. Okay, we have a challenge topic for you that for innovation, the series of plant-based in Asian style in main meal which can boost the immunity and environmental friendly. Our team is happy to support you and coach you during the challenge. Please share your idea to us and we can work together. Okay, that's it from CPF.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much. Okay. So we come back to Q&A. Right. So our audience would like to hear from the panelists on your insights on what's driving the transition to plant-based. What's the increasing adoption of plant-based? Anyone would like to comment first?
Yeah, I mean, I can speak. Can you hear me?
Yes, very well.
Yes. So from our understanding, and I think from the discussions also earlier, what we do see is what's driving the plant-based growth globally, not only in Asia as well. This is the reason behind, no? The people are more conscious of health, caring more about animal welfare, and then there is also more awareness of our environmental impact as well. So there are 2-3 drivers as well. But also why it's growing very fast as well, and especially on the plant-based protein, because the products that are available now in the market, they are closer and closer to real animal meat. So we are able to offer a similar product that we used to eat with meat. Let's say you have a lot of good examples like burgers and Burger King, for example, where you can have your favorite burger using normally a beef patty. I know it's very, very similar, but you don't use any animal meat inside. That's why this category is growing around the world.
Thank you. Anyone else would like to comment on this? Well, another question is, what are the successes you have seen of plant-based launches in this region or in other regions? It can be, from the categories that in your portfolio or the other categories. Astrid, you want to comment on that?
Sure, thank you so much, Shirley, for this. The success are actually lots. Right now, most of the I can tell more about the from the investment perspective here. Right now, like now, almost every investment, most of investment for alternative protein are all located in Asia, where Southeast Asia is actually a very one. Now, in Singapore, now it becomes the Silicon Valley food technology. So, in terms of success in launches, there's something new every day. But Asia is actually the new epicenter for new trend for food technology.
Good here. Now, from your perspective, we're the epicenter of new food technology. we have a nutritionist in our panel, Adria. Yeah, maybe you can tell us that the myth about plant-based nutrition. Yeah, so how to eat, how to choose sustainable but also healthy food. Yeah, your perspective about the nutrition value. Yeah, and how to eat it right, with a plant-based or plant-rich diet.
Yeah, thank you. And I think that is, I guess, one of the challenges that we will slowly face as the plant-based trend becomes more and more popular, is to make sure that we're developing and creating products that are also nutritionally beneficial as well. Because a lot of the evidence around the, I guess, the healthfulness of the plant-based diet comes from its association or its link to eating a lot less processed foods and a lot more whole fruit and vegetables. So it's ensuring that what we are developing is also remaining healthy and looking at things like your overall sodium and saturated fat intake as well. And so not that we, I guess, keep the benefits of the plant-based diet with the new innovations that we create. So I know there's a lot of conversation around it's challenging to get enough protein with plant-based diets. However, it's just about planning it right. So making sure that we've got a mix of different protein sources so that we can ensure that we've got the quality and the quantity that still give us the nutritional benefit long term. But then also making sure that we're not creating products that are high sodium, high saturated fat to get the taste profile right as well. So it's quite a balance from a development perspective and something just to keep in mind as we move more and more into this trend.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, there's also a question for Honor, right? Thailand has been one, I think it's one of the key markets in Asia for this plant-based innovation. Do you want to also share your insights now about any consumer, in terms of consumer preference? Yeah, in terms of maybe varieties or ingredients, types of formats, you see that as more promising opportunities for plant-based innovations?
Yeah, I think the healthy trend is coming to Thailand and Asia. In the past, we have the vegetarian product for seasonal, and now there are more requests from consumer to have more than that October month to get more variety of the product, not only in Western style, but in the Thai Chinese style that we have developed for tasting like very similar to real meat, and the consumer acceptance is very good. Yeah, and they like the purchase intent is high. So we plan to launch this. It is the big launch in May. Yeah. And maybe export in around Thailand, like in Southeast Asia as well.
Thank you. We look forward to it. Our audience also asked about what are the biggest challenges that hinder or slow down the development of plant-based food. I guess here it means it refers to both the development of the products and also probably introduction. That's my takeaway. Yeah. So maybe we can have Astrid and Didier, you can comment on the biggest challenge in development and introduction.
Sure, I can take it from that. Thank you for the very beautiful question. The biggest challenge is actually on educating the market, because plant-based meat is actually still quite a new concept in Asia in general, though in China and as well in Indonesia. So we need to make we need to have lots of education on what is it plant-based for our as well as for them. In terms of the biggest for our biggest challenge is actually accessing to the great talents who will to the great scientists who will be able to for plant-based meat.
Yeah, totally agree with Astrid. And one is the education, so making sure that more people are aware of how plant-based diet can support people's life and more positive impact on the planet. I would say other barriers in terms of development also, it's still sometimes the accessibility of technologies to make sure that we can produce the best products everywhere in the world, so that would democratize even more the access. And I would say also here on the human source probably the price, with some market the price point is still not as normal meat. It's normal because the volumes of overall are still much low most of the time. The thing is really about the
Thank you. Okay. Another question from the audience is the increase and expansion of innovative plant-based meat. Do you see this is driving the reduction of conventional meat? Is it replacing the current meat consumption, or it's just expanding the pie? Maybe Andrea or Anna, do you want to share your observation? Yeah.
I can start. I think it's definitely one of the factors that is driving the reduction in meat intake. I think one of the, the fact that we have options now available that are perform very similar to what meat would in terms of how they cook, how they taste, definitely means that when people are trying to go plant-based, they are more successful. So they're more likely, they may not completely go 100% plant-based, but we see a lot of people doing, say, Meatless Monday, or at least reducing their overall meat intake because they have alternative options that they enjoy enjoy. I think people are seeking them out because they are obviously interested in this sustainability aspect, and I think that's definitely increasing more and more, particularly in Asia, as we, the region increases in sort of education and all of the other elements that make you more interested in sort of protecting and preserving the food supply as well.
Thank you. Yeah. Anna, do you want to comment?
Yeah, I agree with Andrea. I think consumer majority not quit meat eating, but take more plant-based for alternative for their healthier and feel good. Yeah, and anytime they would like to reduce fat or cholesterol, they can have more choice, and the taste is better, and convince them to move on more and more. But I'm not sure it will be the competition with the real meat and the plant-based. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, it's an alternative choice. Okay. Right. So I think with the remaining time that I know many of our audience are joining the food challenge. So maybe I'll have each one of you to talk about your expectation. What would be an outstanding idea submission to you for your topic? Okay. Yeah, you can maybe give our audience, the students, some advice, some tips on how to develop a strong idea submission to your topic. And also, why should they choose your topic? We have 8 topics on the list. So who would like to start first? Shall we go by alphabetical order?
Yes.
Go
I
ahead.
can
Yeah.
start. Okay, so I guess Nestle put in 2 topics, and the topic that I'm discussing is around the advocacy piece. So it's a little bit different to some of the other ideas around product development. That was the first topic that was entered. And I think what we would like to see is an overall well thought out plan on how you would approach the different organizations and the different stakeholders. So if you could identify the different stakeholders that are needed to work through trying to get sustainable, healthy diets implemented into different dietary guidelines in the region, and how you would go about approaching those different stakeholders, and also if there's, I guess, a different way of raising awareness on this issue, because, you know, as governments will be interested in hearing if it's an issue that matters to their market. So it would be good to see some different ways that you might approach raising this as an issue for their consideration. In terms of why you should go and submit to this idea is partly because it's different. It's an opportunity that you could potentially make quite a big difference and be part of making a difference to the structures of the food system. At Nestle, we also do have opportunities to look at accelerated projects and also internships, depending on how the idea and what comes out of your submissions. But yeah, there's also opportunity beyond just the pro-veg to see how it could work together and how you could be a part of bringing that idea to life further down the track.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm very inspired to submit. Okay.
Thank you, Andrea. Thank you, Shirley. In How Food, what we want is to see the series of application of plant-based chicken that really fits well with local food culture and local food trend, and identify how is it the targeted food service customer that is applicable for that menu, and develop a launch plan for that. Why you should choose How Food? Because How Food is actually very based on scientific research and development. It is very innovative. So we're very happy to embrace any creativity, any craziness, any innovative idea along together, because we know to be able to make this mission come true, we need to work outside the box.
I think it's my turn. So for our challenge in the vegetarian butcher, I will say it's all about the convenience stores, as I mentioned first of all. No? So I will encourage you to visit the convenience stores and see how a meat product could really stand out, or a plant-based product could stand out in offer of in your country in the convenience stores. No, make it local, make it tasty, make it easy for the operations, and I think that's the best tip I can give you. No. I encourage you again, as I mentioned, so I'll personally engage myself to mentor the people, the students that are interesting. And again, Unilever is a large company across the world. I'll be happy also to refer to our HR departments as internships or potential also communications for any roles that we have in the company. Good luck.
For CPF expectation, we would like to to get the idea for the variety of Asian style meal, like in many variety, or fried rice like nasi goreng, or rice with the side dish that CPF have the expertise for, like meal box in ready to eat, in chill and frozen. So we have the market and in many channel, both in Asia and in Europe. So I think the Asian style is more choice for consumer, and we can create from many ingredients that we have in our traditional style, and to make more fusion or more interesting for the consumer around the world. And our team has expert to create many style of ready meal, so we can support you for achieve the goal. Yeah.
Wonderful. There's a minor question for you is, in your topic, it's develop a range of convenience food. I think one student is asking that how many SKUs you are expecting, a more detailed question. Is it maybe around a range? So it's a minimum three varieties?
Yeah. I think 3 is enough, at least 3.
Okay, good. Yeah, so hope the students ask these questions, you got the answer. The due date for our idea submission is March 13th. We don't want all the students submit on the last day, so we do offer a lucky draw for the early submissions. Yeah, today the winner of the lucky draw is from Indonesia. So congratulations to Bihiva, Rana, Hasna, and Nesha from Sahid University of Jakarta. Forgive me if I don't pronounce your name right. So each of the students can get a $25 Singapore dollar or equivalent value in local currencies. You will get a coupon or products worth the same value. Now, any of the partaking companies are interested to sponsor the gift, please also let me know, or we'll send the students a gift voucher. Congratulations to this team. To other teams, now we hope we look forward to receiving your creative ideas by March 13th. Okay. Again, now for those that haven't downloaded the template yet, please scan the QR code. You heard from our guest on what are the reasons to choose the topic from each of the companies. You have a chance to be coached by successful senior manager. You will also have a chance to be selected an internship if you have an outstanding idea submission. So not only scan the QR code to the website to get how to apply details, we also have a Facebook group. In the group, every day we upload innovative examples in all categories: plant-based meat, plant-based ice creams, plant-based convenience food. The green code is for the Facebook group. The blue code is for the website on how to apply it. We look forward to meeting you there, and good luck for your idea submission. I'd like to thank all the speakers very much for your inspiring sharing and your time sharing your expectations and tips for the students to develop their ideas. So we look forward to receiving your submission and be a change maker. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Shirley.
Thank you.